I'm Paola Espitia from Ola'pi Creative, and welcome to Conversations by Water, a weekly Facebook live stream where we sit waterside with wave makers to share unfiltered, intimate, and inspiring conversations exploring what it takes to drive change locally and globally. Our mission is to create a ripple effect and empower you to affect change in your lives and communities too.
70% of the surface of planet Earth is covered in water. Also, our brain, our heart, and our lungs consist of 70% water.
That's the epitome of what the ocean is to me. It's just like my heart and soul, and it's love and it's connection.
It was something that was going to stick with him for quite a while.
I mean, read lots of books. Books will motivate you. Experience things. Experiences will motivate you. Watch interviews like this.
And I have to say, being able to go out and make an impact.
How many people do you interact with every day? You can be a change maker for all of those people.
Now it's time for us to say, okay, everybody's had their chance. Now it's time to say, we're ready. We're going to kick it off, and we're going to start making our beach the most environmentally friendly.
The faster you're going to fall in love with water, the longer and happier you're going to leave.
We love water! We love you! Thank you!
Hello there, and welcome to this episode of Conversations by Water, where we get to speak with wave makers who are doing something good for the ocean or for waterways and for our environment. And today we're coming to you from a really special place from the middle of the sea. We are actually on Holland America cruise today, and we're going right up the coast of Baja on our way back to San Diego. But today I got a chance to, during this cruise, I got a chance to meet with somebody really special, really neat wave maker here on board. This is Dr. Jim Merritt, and he is going to join us today and tell us a little bit about his background in the environmental community and the environmental world, and we'll get to hear what they're doing in their neck of the woods to get more people connected to our nature. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us. Yeah. Just after meeting, you gave me a shell, and your shell is actually your business card. And then that's when I realized, oh my gosh, you're much more than just another old guy on a trip.
Oh, thanks. I brought a shell.
Oh, good. So let's see.
There you go. This is what I did.
This is it, guys. I want to show you this. This is the business card. Isn't that so great?
I tell people I grew it, I ate it, and now I've recycled it for a shell.
Amazing. This is such a great idea, and it's going to make a lot more sense to you all here in a minute. But I'd love to find out. So another question, the first question I usually ask is, what is your connection to nature, to water?
I've always been around water, and fortunately for myself, the ocean most of the time, from the time I was 5 years old, going to the beach and spending time in a bay. And this is in New Jersey, where people think it's the only thing is the Turnpike and the Parkway and Newark and all the refineries. But we have some really, really nice beaches, and I've been fortunate to grow up on one. While I was growing up at the beach, I was also going out in my backyard, which was Barnegat Bay, which is a 45-mile long bay, about 2.5 miles wide where I live, and crabbing.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was catching crabs and then taking them to local restaurants and selling them for what I thought was a lot of money at the time, $1 a piece for soft shell crabs.
Okay.
Now they're about $6 probably.
Right.
Yeah.
And so you started off already being immersed in nature, and so early on maybe you had an idea of what you wanted to do or what you wanted to be?
I always knew that I wanted to work with kids and I wanted to work outside. I didn't know what I really wanted to do, so I was a phys ed major, because I thought that's how you did it, and our guidance counselors didn't know about anything else other than that. So I got a degree in physical education and then a master's in environmental ed while I was teaching in a school, and then I was able to move to the New Jersey School of Conservation, a natural resource education center that's a great place run by Montclair State University in New Jersey, and so I did that for a good number of years too before I was able to retire and then move to my present job, which is as a program director at a natural resource education center in the Bay. that's what I do now.
Yeah, and that sounds really exciting. And we have a lot in common in the sense that we've both done a lot of environmental education and outdoor education. But you also then went on to get your PhD, and talk about that.
That's correct. Because the School of Conservation was a part of Montclair State University, and I was teaching a lot of college courses, but really didn't have a terminal degree, as they say. I thought it important to go back to school and finish and get a degree, so that I had the PhD, and that is from New York University. It's actually in therapeutic recreation. So what I was looking to do was to specialize in working with special needs kids and adults, and do them, take them outside, do environmental programs outside, but working with these special populations, especially people with physical limitations.
And in that kind of work, what did you find were the benefits? What were some of the, could you tell us a story of something that you saw that?
A story, I have lots of stories. My favorite would be probably a guy that was a quadriplegic. Tim, I met him when he was 15 years old. I'm still in touch with him. And Tim was a great kid. I could barely understand him because his speech was so impaired. Physically, he had a motorized wheelchair because he really couldn't maneuver very much of anything on his own. And Tim would try anything that I asked him to, and that's my kind of person.
Oh, wow.
I said, you know, I worked for Outward Bound for 17 years, and it was always like, I can't do that. And I go like, oh, yes, you can. You just have to try. And then I'll help you, and this group of people will help you. And Tim was right there all the time. So I go like, okay, Tim, today we're going to go climbing. And he goes, okay, climb. I said, Tim, what did you just say? He goes, okay, I'll climb. So I would take him climbing, and we'd go out and we'd climb. I said, you know, you're not going to climb like I climb because I can use all four of my limbs. You can't use most of yours, but I'll help you a lot. So I would push him and hang him off the wall with a rope and everything like that. And he'd try to get up and he'd fall and he'd laugh and I'd laugh. And, you know, we just had the greatest time.
Wow.
Really fun.
What an amazing thing to be able to introduce people to nature, but then really show folks who may otherwise have had a story that they couldn't do anything, that even in a wild environment, they can do something.
That's it, exactly. Just, you can put your mind to something, you can do it, and especially if you have people to help you. And we've talked a little bit on our own about the complexity of environmental problems, and I really see that as a big thing because people just don't understand. They think they can put one simple solution to a problem, have an engineer, somebody design something, their way out of something, and I don't think that's possible. I think especially with environmental things, the problems are so complex. You fix one thing and something else changes, and we're understanding that, I think, better and better, and you with a degree in ecology really get that. And that to me is why I think I had this immediate attraction to, like, this girl's got it, you know, she's really right there, and so I was really impressed with your talks, and
Thank you
continue
very much.
to be.
Thank you. Well, I mean, you certainly have a blue mind. We'll give you a marble right off the bat, and especially for the work that you're doing in this way, you know, really using nature as a therapeutic tool, and I'll be talking more about that tomorrow in the talk, but it's so, people have devalued nature for so long, and it's so nice to see. I mean, there's people with actual PhD degrees who are studying the value of nature and its therapeutic benefits. It's really amazing. It's kind of is it a newer field, do you think?
It's a great question. I think that the department actually at NYU dissolved. I don't know why that happened. After I finished a couple of years later, it was gone. And to me that was a shame because, you know, you have the most urban university probably in the United States, and they allowed me to get a degree, write a dissertation that had to do with, actually Tim, the guy that I described, was a part of that because I would take him, I said, Tim, today we're going to go flying. He goes, I can't fly. I said, no, Tim, what did you say? He goes, okay, I can fly. I said, we're going to fly a kite. They go like, oh, okay. And so, you know, I would get the kite in the air, and I'd wrap the string around his finger or his wheelchair, and he'd be flying a kite.
Yeah.
You know, and he could feel the pull of the wind. He could do this kind of thing. Tim, today we're going to go fishing. Okay. And, you know, he could barely move, but I could put the line down, and we fished for little sunnies that were this big, you know, and and I'd drop the line off the dock, and there'd be a little bobber, and he'd look over out of his wheelchair like this, and I have the line wrapped around his finger, and the fish would pull on a string. I'd jerk on his hand, and he'd go, I go, and he'd pull up a fish. Well, I'd pull up the fish, but he'd have caught it.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah.
To be part of that experience.
Yeah, so he was right there with it.
And so you are so keen on getting people really immersed in nature that you've actually done something a little bit extra over on the island where you're working with, and that's where these come into play.
Yeah, to me it's always about hands-on. I think that just talking about stuff and isn't enough. You have to be involved, and I really believe in sensory learning. So the more senses you can involve, the better. So this clamshell, represents that. I tell people I grew it because we raise shellfish on the island. We grow about 1 million oysters, about 1 million clams, and about 200,000 or 300,000 oysters a year, with a whole bunch of other volunteers like myself all around the bay, and we have some of those on the island. So almost everybody that comes to the island has to do something where they harvest some food that we've raised. So in this case, it's shellfish. So clams are easy because they can go out and rake clams right out off the dock, and they get some clams and bring them all in. We sort them out, and they say, okay, now how many clams can you eat? And some people say, I'm not eating a clam, and other people say, I can eat 100. Go, well, you're not eating 100 and you're not eating none if I can help it. So you have to try them. And so then they've harvested something, they've prepared it, probably steaming it on the grill or something like that, and then they've tasted it. So it pulls that whole sustainability thing together, and that is key to me, because then they're using all these senses. They've felt the clams with their feet. They've picked up the clams with their hands. They've been in the water to harvest them. Then they have to wash them off, and then they've got to put them on the grill, and then then they get a chance to smell them cooking and eat them. So they're really using a multi-sensory approach.
I love that so much. It really, that way to connect. And, in particularly, they're also learning about the importance of these shellfish in the area. So tell us, why are shellfish important to that specific spot?
It's all about the food.
Yeah, right.
It's not. We're growing shellfish. We buy 6 million oysters in a little packet that's about this big.
Oh, wow.
And they're microscopic. They're at a stage where they're just about ready to settle on something in the water. We put them in a tank, and we swirl the water around, and they cling to a shell, and they're there for the rest of their life. We buy clams that are 2 millimeters, so they're like the size of a grain of rice or smaller. And we put those out in tanks, and we grow them like that. And then we grow them to a higher stage, and we get them bigger and bigger, so that within 1.5 years about, they grow to 1.5 inches. That's the legal size of a clam in New Jersey that you can take. So we're doing that to show them about that whole transition of growing your own food and thinking about how you can be involved in that process, and talk about locavores. They're growing right there. They're not consuming anything. There's no antibiotics, there's no anything. So it's a real easy thing to teach people about that, because it's all right there, and they can see it and then use it and eat the shellfish that we're growing.
And you all also came through in a pinch when the local fishermen were out of shellfish, right?
Yeah, we did. After Superstorm Sandy hit our area really, really hard. It was a devastating blow to everything on the island where I live. Just most things were gone. I happen to live on an island, a part of the island that's 8.6 feet above sea level, so I'm on the mountain. But my neighbors across the street had 4 feet of water in their house.
Oh, wow.
So the people that were growing shellfish, although the shellfish that were in the water were fine, their gear and everything else, their upwellers and their tanks and all their gear was destroyed. So the intermediate steps that they have where they're raising them in these other environments was gone for them. They had the bigger shells that they could sell that year, but they didn't have the next stage. So we helped them out because we were able to give them shellfish that they could then grow and sell commercially in our area. So it was a nice deal, and they're always great with us. They're always giving us ideas about, like, oh, you're doing that all wrong. You know, I grew up doing this and my grandfather did this. So you guys that learn this from books, you don't know what you're talking about. We'll show you how to do it.
Yeah.
So they're always right there.
And that's a great relationship to have too with the local fishermen, because it's so true even with aquaculture as well. I mean, they would always comment about that you all the scientists only know what they're reading in books or through experiments. That's not real life. And so it's such an important collaboration and partnership to have. So that's really great that also helps to promote that partnership. And there's the neat thing is so these people who go and visit, it's both kids and adults, can come to these programs, so they get to learn and be a part of the whole experience, and then they go back to the mainland, and that's when they're given the take-home message. So what is it that you hope that these folks take away with?
Well, I work for the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife, and that's a part of our Department of Environmental Protection, and it is a state agency, and this agency is run by the state. So we are really, because it's fish and wildlife, we're trying to get people to understand the connection with the wildlife in New Jersey. And because New Jersey is the most densely populated state of any in the country, that's a real stretch. Barnegat Bay has a huge amount of boats and all kinds of people using it. So you always have that conflict of user, natural environment issues. And there's just, when you're crowded into a space like New Jersey, it's really tough. So, you know, what do you do with the excess deer? Do you harvest them? The Fish and Wildlife Department would say, yeah, you know, so that's why we have hunting licenses and regulations like that. What do you do with shellfish? Well, you can grow them, and that's probably the best way to do that right now, because there aren't enough naturally reproducing shellfish to make it in New Jersey. So we have to help them, and that's what we're doing. And if people walk away or leave our island, they have to get on the boat and drive away, with the idea that the natural resources are really important. And when there's a conservation issue and a bond issue in New Jersey, and they almost always pass, I'm always proud of our state, because I think, like, okay, people are getting it. You know, they understand that we have to have these green areas, that we have to have these open spaces. And it's important, as you talk about so much with the blue planet and our natural environment, how do we keep things going? How do we keep our sustainability in the state with the wildlife that we have? And it's a stretch. It's really a stretch. So we have to supplement by raising shellfish, by, you know, harvesting deer to make sure that there aren't too many that are overrunning the lawns and the fields and places like that. And what do we do with the Canada geese? You know, major issues with lawns and fertilizer. Go on and on.
Right. So, I mean, you're also super passionate about the environment and about your role as a wave maker and creating change and inspiring change. What would you say is your favorite thing about what you do?
Working with people, and to see when people get it, to see that spark, and people go like, oh, yeah, I'm gonna turn off the lights, you know, I'm gonna turn off the water when I brush my teeth. And I think they probably are really gonna do that, hopefully for the rest of their lives, but for a while. And I think they get that because they spend 3 days on this island in the center that's totally off the grid, and they have no choice, because we have college interns running around going, what are you doing leaving a light on? Why aren't you cutting the water off when you're brushing your teeth? And so they get it 24/7 for 3 days. And I think that really makes an impact. And because I've been doing this for a long time, and 17 years of working at the School of Conservation, every once in a while somebody will come up to me and they'll go, are you that guy that took me on the climbing wall? And I go, yeah, probably I am. Well, do you remember me? I was the kid that did. I go, sorry, I worked with like 8,000 kids last year. I don't really remember you, but they go like, well, you know, I really do. I turn the water off now, you know, I unplug my computer. I do this, you know, I try not to use my cell phone so much. I go like, you got it.
Well, before we go, I want to make sure that we give Dr. Jim here a chance to let everybody know where it is we can learn more about the center, what else we can do to help support all the work that you all are doing. So let us know where we can find you.
Okay, the New Jersey Division of Fish and Wildlife has its own site. It's njfishwildlife.com. And that has a lot of information about all the programs that Fish and Wildlife does. If you click on education, now you're getting closer, and you click on Sedge Island, that's S-E-D-G-E, Sedge Island, because that's a marsh grass. That will bring you to the Sedge Island Natural Resource Education Center. And there you can find out more about our programs. We also do have a Facebook site, and we encourage people that have been to the island to go on and talk about their experiences and that sort of thing. So,
Yeah, it sounds like that's a great place to share pictures.
it is, yeah, lots of pictures that are shared by the people that are participants in the program and our staff as well.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today. I think everybody learned a lot and got a lot out of your energy and the work that you're doing. So thank you so much, and I'm so happy to have gotten a chance to meet you on this 2 weeks out in the middle of the ocean.
Same here.
How lucky are we?
It's great. Come and visit.
We will. We definitely will.
Super.
So thank you all very much for tuning in, and we will be sure to see you next time on Conversations by Water, where we will get a chance to speak with more wave makers who are making change for the better. So thank you for joining us. Bye.